Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, howdy, folks. You can definitely tell there's a buzz in the air. We're hoping that the guest of honor shows up very soon. We sent them the link, and we are just waiting for him to arrive backstage. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It is Family Day weekend. I want to wish you a happy weekend, if, in fact, you were allowed to enjoy it as such. The weather out this way has been absolutely phenomenal, especially today. We had some wind and some cold weather, I guess, early on. But today, if you got out fishing and you're in Ontario, holy smokes, you enjoyed yourself an incredible day out on the hard water. Now, I'm sure there's going to be lots of you joining us tonight from all over Canada with one sole purpose. And I'm hoping you're going to take every advantage and opportunity to wish Bob well in his retirement. He'll be coming on soon with our good buddy Jim. And then, of course, we're going to be talking to Lawrence and Jason, probably to discuss some of their favorite stories about Bob. But I can't believe it. You think about it, 38 years. It's almost hard to believe. 38 years. I mean, it's not hard to believe when I go into the washroom and look at myself in the mirror, but 38 years. Wow. Incredible. Hello to everyone who is joining us. Sally's in the house. Sean's here. Steve. Walter, thanks so much for the artwork behind us. We're going to be doing a Bob Izumi challenge after this live broadcast, probably maybe start it tomorrow. But I want everyone to join into that because, as I said, at the end of the day, we have so much to thank our good buddy Bob for everything he's done for Canadian angling and Canadian anglers. So we are going to get to that, but we do have a couple of announcements I want to get to as well. Just wanted to let you know that this Saturday we're going to be on Moira Lake with our fantastic hosts, the Fanatics Outdoor Adventures. So if you are looking to participate with us this Saturday, it's going to be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's still spots available. There's lots of stuff that will be going on, not to mention just the fishing. It's only $20 per person, and here's what it comes with. You have your bait. We've got some Subway platters that are going to be donated. There's hot dogs, there's hot chocolate, and of course a fish fry. And that will be courtesy of myself and Outdoor Flavors from Bait to Go. So if you're interested, get in touch with Jen Harlow from Fanatics Outdoor Adventures and join us, please, will you? Our edit team has also mentioned that, or has asked me to mention that they're putting together a slideshow of all our next gen CFN anglers. So if you want your youngin' to be featured in our slideshow, please, please, please put their pictures in our Canadian Fishing Network inbox so that we could do up an edit and feature them proper. Like, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about the next generation of anglers. So we're doing our best to promote that. And with Steve, Shaw, and Walter, and Terry, and everybody who's involved with all their help, we're going to do our best to do so. Last but not least, of course, it is our 4th annual CFN retreat that's going to be going on this August, and we still have spots available. We'd love for you to come. It's going to be a great time, as always. We're going to enjoy some great multi-species angling, and if you're into that, have a look. This is what you have in store. So a small snippet of what it is, and anyone who has been to the CFN retreat knows what's in store. So we invite you to come. There's, as I said, there's still spots available. Just reach out to Horwood Lake Lodge. Doris and Warren will take care of you and make sure that your body is in a bed, and we're going to see you there. Before we bring on Jim, let's have a word from our sponsor and the best pump-up song for CFN. There he is, the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing fine, buddy. I'm doing fine.
Can you feel the buzz in the air?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, it's one of those things you look back and you say to yourself, wow, you know, we get in this business, and you know, how do you leave? Like, Bob's not leaving. You know what I mean? He's not gonna. It's not that we're never gonna hear from him again. He's just not doing a show anymore. But wow, just you sort of think these things never come to an end, but unfortunately, when the time is right and you feel that you have to do it, and I'm sure that Bob is really, really going to enjoy having a little more, just disposable time, I guess you could call it. He has his fishing time, he has everything else, but I'm sure there's really other things that he's, thought about doing. Whether he wants to sit in a hot tub once a week or, who knows? Maybe he'll take up jogging.
Sorry, Bob, who are we to say anything about jogging? Yes, absolutely. Jim, if you could, just for all of us who weren't back or don't know the background story of when you two first met, walk me back to your tournament days when this young up-and-comer, this young buck, all of a sudden crossed paths with you. What was your first impression, and where did it go from there?
He was. I'm not sure. I was going to ask Bob about this. I should have done it before we got on here. I think I met Bob through a fellow by the name of Jim Durhack, who was he was an agent in Canada for Zebco and some of the hunting lines, clothing, some other stuff like that. In the industry for a long time, hard-nosed guy, did things, business was business boy. And he brought Bob, when I had the fishing tackle shop in Ottawa on Bank Street in the Glebe, he brought Bob in the store to meet me. Wow. And I think that's where we first met. So we're going back like just a long way, a long way.
Well, it's interesting because I looked at a video today that I'm going to share just momentarily. That at that time it was 3 decades, and I don't know when the video was posted, and I don't want to age you or Bob for that matter because I respect the two of you far too much. But it's amazing how long you two have been friends and have been active in each other's, careers. You've cross promoted each other. You've pumped each other's tires. It's more than just your competitors, colleagues. Like, you're true friends.
Yeah, it's so true, and there's little things like when I found out that I had the cancer years ago, I was talking to Bob on the phone, and I got another phone call, and I had to take that call. They had called to, and back then that's when phones looked like you could phone the moon with them,
Yeah.
And I was talking to Bob, and I got a call, and they said, we have an opening. We'd like you to come in to do an MRI. And I declined the date because I was on my way to Fishing World in Kingston to do an ice fishing presentation that night, or whatever. I don't know if it was ice fishing. It was something, and because a long time ago, that's like 16 years ago, and I was talking to Bob, and I wasn't going to go. And Bob said to me, "No, you're going." And I said, "Well, I can't just let them down and leave them because that's what I'm like." And he said, "No, I'll go to the store for you." Little things like that really stick in your mind.
Wow.
And he went to the store. Bob hadn't taken up ice fishing then yet. He didn't ice fish at all. So it was, and then he went in and he said, "Hey, do you want me to talk about ice fishing or bass fishing?" And they all said bass fishing.
Well, listen,
yeah.
Bob just joined us backstage, but before we get to Bob, I want to play this video that I put together. It's a little trip back for both of you to show you, where your career kind of started, how
I'm
much
ready.
you've been involved. Yeah, I figured you would be. Here's a testimony. This is a tribute to both you and Bob. Have a look.
Hey, I'm not even set up.
You call yourself a professional?
I've got to mention the fact that you have won 2 Canadian Bass Classics.
Yes, sir. How many have you won, Bob?
1,
How many Canadian Opens you win?
3.
You win.
How about you?
Yes.
Yeah, but you won those nice big rings when you won your classic.
Yep.
They ran out of rings when I won mine in 95. Hey, it's been a lot of fun, Jim.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah.
There he is, the one and only Bob Izumi.
Hey, very cool. That Scotty, that was a really nice video, and hi to you guys, Big Jim. Always good to see you. And I forgot about filling in for you down there at Fishing World. I guess I got to get an invoice now that I'm doing TV, so I got to make all the income on other things. So I'm for that now.
It's not working.
Bob, it must have been a tough decision based on the longevity of the show, but I can imagine that it was not as tough a decision when you think back and all the hard work and dedication that's gone into making it. That you needed some time, but as I look past and I saw some of the videos and I went through it today, 38 years of filming is I mean, you've covered the globe. In your testimonial, you've pretty much been all over the place. Is there anything, and I'm sure this is a question that a lot of folks have, is there anything that you can look at, think back and say, geez, I wish I hadn't have left that undone? Is there anything left undone in your eyes?
Yeah, the bucket list has pretty much been checked off. We went everywhere: Russia and Australia and Spain and Tasmania and South America, the Amazon, Venezuela, all these places. So got to go to those places that you really dream about, like fishing trips of a lifetime type of stuff. Got to fish a lot of incredible tournaments, but when I really think back of it all, it's all wonderful memories, but I think it's the people. I'm going to miss a lot of the people that I would meet and continue to meet going forward. And I'll miss seeing some of the people that I met in my filming trips where, we became friends. And, that was at fishing lodges and and all over the place. And Big Jim, you were right about this your store on Bank Street in Ottawa. That was where I first met you.
Yeah.
Jim Derhack had left the police force, started Colder Agencies, and repped a number of products. And I remember him taking me to that store. He was doing some dealer visits, Eastern Ontario, and just in the first year I was in the business. He said, "Bob, join me on this trip, and I can't wait to get you to Ottawa to meet this guy. I know you're gonna hit it off with. He's a fishing fanatic." And he was talking about you catching muskies downtown Ottawa, right off the shore, and bass fishing and that. And that was it. I remember you're in the back of your store tying jigs, like you're still probably doing now. And yeah, it was pretty neat to think here we are sitting here, 2022 on the CFN podcast, still talking fishing. You went through your bouts, with the cancer, you beat that, and gosh, we both got to count our lucky stars that we're here talking to Scotty tonight, don't you think?
Yeah, no, it's 100% true, Bob. It's absolutely amazing when you look back. The interaction, the time, I don't have to tell you, that I ultimately respect you. To me, you are the number one person in Canada. You always will be. I love you, buddy. I've got so many of my friends out there and everything else, but there's only one Bob Izumi. And boy, that comes from my heart, pal. Absolutely.
I thank you, Jim. And the feeling is mutual. It's we've always had that respect back and forth with each other, whether it was a tournament where one of us did well and the other didn't, or whatever it was in those early years, right through to this day. And it's a small, the fishing business in Canada, even though it's, multi-millions of dollars and millions of people partake, it's still a very small circle in the industry. And, you and I both been around this industry the whole time, but a lot of our friends are mutual friends and acquaintances, and the list goes on. And it's really weird to be talking about. It's almost like going to, I'm not going to say a funeral, but it's really weird talking about the show coming to an ending. And I'm going to just set the record straight right now on the show, okay? Because I haven't done that on anybody's show. Even when I was on Andy's show the other day for the Spring Fishing Boat Show, I didn't really say why, okay? I'm going to kind of give you a few points of why, okay? And show was doing still good. Their sponsors, revenue, still going good. Still had opportunities to go all over the place. Lots of invites to fish all over the place. I just thought the timing was right, when we started in the heyday, there were only a small handful of TV stations. I mean, Greater Toronto area might have had with the ethnic channels and various TV stations. There might have been between Toronto and the surrounding areas that got in on, signal with an antenna. I don't know, maybe 8 stations in the Toronto area. And then you get the outlying areas, you don't have 1 or 2 stations. So we had penetrated that by syndicating the show all over the place. And it really was helpful in those early years of building the brand Real Fishing and getting the name out there and all that stuff and getting the notoriety. And the weird thing is, it was not the reason I started the TV show. I didn't want notoriety. I didn't even think of it when we started. As you know, Jim, I was doing promotional work, seminars, tournaments, in-store appearances, whatever I could make a couple dollars at, but it was only a couple dollars. And I did that for 3 full-time years, 3.5 years before I started the TV show in 83. But I was starving to death, and I knew I had to do something else to complement the work I was doing to support my addiction to fishing tournaments, which I'm still addicted to. So fast forward to today. There's, specialty networks that run fishing shows. There's mainstream networks that run fishing shows. There's, great podcasts like the CFN that we're on tonight. There's all kinds of YouTube videos and online shows and on-demand TV, Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV. I just thought timing was right. Hey, I'll do promotional work till the day I die. So far, every company that I've talked to, that I've worked with in the past, has not said no. They all want to continue working with me, including companies like Mercury Marine, Columbia Sportswear, Ranger Boats, Pure Fishing, like Abu Garcia and Berkeley and all these companies. And so that was really nice, because I don't want to keep not working. It's just that I thought it was time to just hang the hat up at the fishing show. And it's kind of a weird time to do it because a lot of people would look at how it was as a business and the longevity in that and go, Bob, you don't have any health problems or anything. You're still breathing and kicking. But there's guys in the States like Bill Dance, Jimmy Houston, Roland Martin, and they're all guys that, Jim, I'm sure you did too. We idolized these guys growing up. Scotty, watch these guys as kids, and they're still doing their show. Yep. And I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that they're in their 80s hosting a fishing show. And I've been there, done that, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. I want to go fish some tournaments and do some promotional work and consulting, which I'm doing for some companies, and also a couple of fishing or projects outside the fishing world. But for the most part, I kind of wanted to get a hold of the steering wheel myself. A lot of people don't know that I was on the road for about 300 days a year average for a good part of over 3 decades. You miss certain things when you do that. When my kids were little, Jim, you'd see them at the tournaments, Kristen and Darren, but I wouldn't see them when I'd go off to a fishing lodge for 5 days or to Russia to film or Australia to film. And so I would come home and they'd be, another inch bigger, it seems like, even though I might only been gone for 2 weeks. It seems like they grew up real quick because I was busy working and being in the business. Now they're grown ups. I finally got a grandson 3.5 months ago, Tommy. And I mean, I love this little guy, and I'm probably more mature, more appreciative, and realize how special it is to have children now than I did when I was young and going wide open working. So, as you get older, you think you get wiser. I'm not sure if we do or not, but you also try to reflect on how good things are. And, you have to have some losers with winners. And, we've had some business opportunities over the year outside the fishing business that we've lost on and investments and stuff. But we also had some winners. And, I don't think you'll ever recognize a winner if you don't have a loser. But in the case of, me coming full circle now, I'm back to what I was doing when I met you, Jim, promotional work. And a different level, I guess, because more people know me. Back when I went to your store, heck, the only guy that knew me was Jim, who was driving me that
I love it. Hey, tell them the story about, I think it was you that told me a story about with Mercury Marine and Bob Patterson, the first sportsman show you ever did.
The one about sponsorship?
Yeah, the one where you lost money by going to
Oh, wow. That was my first gig in this whole business was, with these guys, Mercury, which is really funny to think I'm still with them, 40 plus years later. And it's such a neat company to be working with. And I always tell people the only reason I got this lack of hair is if Mercury's won't so damn fast, I would have probably had a full head of hair like Big Jim. I mean, I would have had a big fro going on there.
Well, listen, your show has introduced us to the fisheye view. We can't thank you enough for all of your underwater shots because truly that's what got the adrenaline going. And then you started to introduce us to some, just infamous people. Obviously, like Big Sexy down here on your show, Gord Pizer. I mean, the wealth of information that man has brought to the fishing community. Not to mention Cameron Tate, who has mentioned here in the comments that he's going to be recreating some of the recipes in the upcoming Just Fishing magazine that Jim produces. It's incredible. You talk about the people, Bob. You see yourself at the shows. I see you at the shows, and Jason has mentioned he's almost had to be your informal security when it comes to getting you to the stage because you take you're so genuine. You take the time for everyone. Do you ever find yourself spreading yourself thin?
Well, when you say that, no, because I was, basically running my own schedule, even though I had people around me in the company. And for the most part, I always jammed a lot in. But I will say, I've been, since we made that announcement on social media that the show had ended, I have been getting literally thousands of comments on, TikTok and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And And today literally has been all day answering them. I mean, I think we worked, I don't know, for about, well, maybe 9 or 10 hours on them, and still got a lot to do. But I got called out by a guy who said I didn't autograph either for him or his son, like a 5-year-old kid. You didn't do it. You just walked right by. And if I did that, I apologize to whoever said that. And I apologize to him on my comments. But, you know, I don't remember ever doing that. Why would you walk by a kid and not give him an autograph? My dad, when he was alive, used to say, if it's for kids, do it. I mean, that was one of the, you know, probably top 5 things I remember when he was alive, because he died when I was 21. So there's no way I would have purposely did that. But you're talking about getting ushered to the seminar or from the seminar to the booth where I'd be signing autographs. Sometimes I'd have to blaze through the spring show or the sportsman show or whatever to get back to that booth, or to get to that stage where Big Jim was going to introduce me, because I was already running a few minutes late. And, you know, that might have been where maybe that little guy was yelling at me. I didn't even hear him because I was going wide open to get a seminar, you know, get the microphone on and get up on the boat and start doing the thing. But it's funny because those things, you're going wide open when you're at those trade shows, consumer shows and that. And I did, you know, hundreds of those things over the years. And I should get back to that question about Mercury, Big Jim, though I didn't really answer it. So my dad was alive. I'm 20 or 21 years old. We hear they're trying to get Al Lindner for the Toronto Boat Show. And Al's booked over a year in advance from the Inn Fisherman back then. And they had a lot of things going on. And Al was a real mentor to me in those days, and still is. But I mean, he helped me on advice, you know. And so we went to Mercury. My dad and I drove to Mississauga, to Dundas Street, when they used to have their headquarters there. Now they're just in Milton, in my hometown. But they had their headquarters there. We met with Bob Patterson, went to a restaurant, had lunch. And I told Bob Patterson everything I wanted from Mercury. You know, I wanted a nice big black Max motor, and I wanted this and that. I was going to fish tournaments, and I was this and I was that. And, you know, basically, if I was chocolate, I think I'd eat myself. I was so into it, you know. And at the end of the conversation, after I talked, he looked at me and he said, okay. And his name was Bob Patterson, still alive, and still keeps in touch, which is really neat. And he was at Mercury for over 40 years. He said to me, he said, okay, now that I've heard what you want, what are you going to do for Mercury? And that was my introduction to 101 marketing. Oh, these companies, if you're going to do work for them, or you want to be sponsored by them, you better do something for them, because they need to keep selling product, and they only have, you know, this much money to work with. And if they're going to give you, you know, this much, as he did pay me in the first run, they need something out of it. So he said, you know what? How about you come work the Toronto's International Boat Show for 10 days doing seminars in between this world-class champion skier. I think his name was Joel McClintock. And he was doing ski seminars. And then in between those, I was doing fishing seminars. And they rotated. And I think we did 3 or 4 or 5 a day. And at that time, I was way over on the other side of the boat show. And I was at the Zebco booth, and I was manning it by myself. And so I would leave to go do the seminars, and they paid me $25 a day to do those seminars. And I know Jim's probably smirking and say that's $24 too much, but that was my deal. No expense money. I didn't realize at the time that a darn hotel, even in the sleaziest one in Toronto, still cost you, you know, $50. So I was losing money. But you know, the funny thing is that show was cool because I did all these seminars every day for 10 days in a row. And then there was Peter Stickley, who was the rep for SciTax, had his booth beside the Zebco booth. So I'm manning the Zebco booth by myself. And I did pick up $25 a day from Zebco too. I should add that in there for manning their booth. But I was the only one. So when I would leave, so nobody would steal anything out of that empty booth, I'd say, Peter, can you please keep an eye on this booth, and I'll be back in like less than an hour for my seminar, but don't let anybody take anything. And he graciously would watch the booth, which, you know, is at the boat show. There's a lot of people there. And I'd be running to the other side of the show at the C&E grounds, do that seminar, and then run back. And that was my introduction to marketing, to promotion, to public speaking, to a lot of things, all at that show. And here it is now. But it wasn't the plan for this notoriety stuff. I really didn't know anything about that. And I guess you'd call that was a bonus from the TV show and all those seminars and appearances I did all over Canada and the United States, all through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and that. And I mean, like one year I was really tired come December. It's like early December. I was kind of burnt out. And I said, I got to look at my day timer. And I added up in my day timer where I was on the road 320 days that year doing either tournaments, filming shows, radio show, magazine, and then appearances, seminars. The first quarter of that year, I did 80 of the 90 days doing seminars and appearances in 65 cities. And then that's when I realized that's why I'm tired, because after that quarter, the next quarter got really busy filming shows, and then tournaments started in the summer, and then filming and tournaments in the fall right up to Ice Up. And so, and we shot more shows per season back then. So, it was a whirlwind in those early years, right from that first time I did the boat show right through until, the show ended, and our last show ended December, last Saturday in December. And here we are talking about it today, and it feels awesome.
Wow.
Isn't that
listen,
great?
it wouldn't be a true Jim segment if Jim wasn't allowed to speak. So Jim, I got to let you in here and ask some questions.
When we'd film shows, he would never shut up. I don't know. This is gonna be
Nice
good.
guy, eh? I could put up with something like this, eh?
Hey, you were
come
always
back-
a great guest. You were always a great guest. You always
How
How
close to the best was I?
Well, your hook set still ranks as the #1 hook set in about 900 shows. You're the only guy I know that is your size that set the hook on a largemouth bass that was 5 pounds something on the Ottawa River. And I remember the video like it was yesterday, because I was in the boat with you, and the boat rocked like this, and we put out a wave across the lake, and you got at least 6 inches of air under both feet when you set the hook, when we were using those plastic worms. And you have the books, you win the best hook set of the Real Fishing TV series.
That's what Rocky used to say. When I used to set the hook, he knew it was coming because I had a way of breaking my knees before I came up. And I still remember that from playing junior hockey. And they taught me, if you want to have all the force, always when you take a slap shot, when you go onto your leg, just before you shoot the puck, break your knee, let it fold a bit, and your weight drops and the impact is greatly increased. And I applied that to fishing.
And that's what I love about guys like you and Pizer and all these guys in the industry. I'm still friggin' learning now, and I've already retired from the TV show, but I'm still in the business. So keep it coming, Jim. I want to hear it.
I'll never stop, pal. That's what people don't realize. You're in the fishing industry. How does Jim McLaughlin, how does Bob Izumi retire with what you do? You're going to wake up one morning, you're going to say, I'm not doing anything with fishing. I'm old. That doesn't look like that. I've talked to you. I'm having trouble with my legs and my mobility with the nerve damage. And, the last few years have been awful tough for me to be in a boat. Like in the fall here, Chong and I get out in the back here, and I just had one of those days that was horrible with my legs. And I had to sit in the boat all day. I had to sit in the back seat all day. It was all I could do. I could not stand. It was just, they were just, killing me. Eh? And he looked around at me at one point. He looked at me and he says to me, you set that hook and the boat still rocked. He's sitting in the chair. I said, well, I had to set it even harder. I was using monofilament, and I made about a 75-foot or 100-foot cast. So I had to wind it up good, eh? But, you don't stop. You just find a way to keep going.
You do. Yep, you do.
You find a way to keep going. People see me fishing out the back here. I have guys, the night that I caught you know exactly where I'm talking about. And have you got to sit in the chair yet? No, you've been all around it, but you haven't sat in it, eh?
No, I haven't been asked to yet.
You'll feel the power. You know what? Next year when you're here, if you come down to fish, you'll sit in that chair, and about 2 weeks after there'll be a press release. Bob's doing the TV show again. I can just see it. It'll be out. You'll feel the power. But I have guys call me up and say, please tell me you didn't catch those fish you had the pictures of sitting in a lawn chair. I said, well, I'd be a liar if I said, you know, I mean, it's
Yeah, I was going to report you for harassing way too many fish where you live, but I couldn't do that to an old friend.
I know them by name. No, I know them by name, but
Bob,
no, definitely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know your time is so precious and we don't want to keep you any longer. In fact, Jim held me to a promise that we'd only keep you here for 15 minutes, and we're a little bit over that already. But there's
That's all he gave me. That's all he gave me was 15 minutes.
No. He was total out of respect. But there's so many questions here that folks are asking. Obviously, you know, where was your favorite place that you shot your show, this, that, and everything. I just want to remind everybody that Bob has promised to come back to a fireside chat. So any of your how-to stuff that you want answers to, Bob will come and join us to do that. But I will leave with this last question, unless you have a question, Jim. Christina, and I truly love the question that Christina has asked. Is there a message to anglers that you want us to take from all that has been your incredible legacy?
Well, I think the thing is, be yourself, be real, and do it your way. I mean, you know, there's so many. If you want to work in this industry, there's not a lot of jobs in this industry, but there are a few, or you could create one like I did, I guess, back in the early years. In my case, though, you know, I've got this new little grandson, Tommy, and he'll be in the boat this spring, even though he's going to be pretty young. He's not going to have a choice at his age because he's so young. But I want to get him into fishing. That's definitely on my you know, my list to do. But for the folks that are you know, looking at you know, fishing as a hobby, fishing as a job, whatever it is, you know, it's one of those sort of sports or businesses. You can do whatever you want to do as much as you want to. And that's what I always said in my fishing seminars, that, you know, you can take it any level you want. If you need, you know, to not spend a lot of money because you can't really afford to, well, then buy an inexpensive combo kit with a handful of lures or even bait, you know, and you could go out there with, you know, bobbers, hooks, bait, and catch fish. Or you can go crazy and fish tournaments like Big Jim did for several decades, and I'm still going to do till I die. You can kind of do it at any level that you want. And that's what I love about this sport. And that's why I'll never get out of it completely. I mean, I don't really use the word retiring at all. At first, when the notes started coming in, congratulations on your retirement, I'd hear and read all these wonderful messages from viewers of the show. And I realized that I am retiring from my Real Fishing TV series, but I'm not retiring from being out there, because I'll still be at all kinds of functions and events and tournaments and, you know, you name it. And already the day book's getting way too crammed. It's cutting into my tournament fishing right now with the dates we got booked. But the thing is there's like so many good clubs. You know, I know you guys got some neat stuff going on at CFN, and if you want, you get involved, do those type of things. There's bass clubs, there's all kinds of muskie and different types of clubs out there. And that's a great way of learning meeting people, learning techniques, and getting to fish with other folks too. And that, so, you know, and I've been blessed with that just because of filming the show and doing tournaments, that I've got introduced to thousands of anglers that I've shared boats with over the years. And heck, that's, you know, I learned so much from Big Jim, and I'm still learning. Like tonight on that knee deal, I'm going to check next time what my knee placement is when I'm setting the hook on a fish. I mean, you know, why I've been losing so many in tournaments lately. My knees are cocked properly, Jim.
Jim, in your honor, I will leave the last question to you, and I'm sure you have many, but if you want to sum it up or maybe just a comment, I'll let you take it over.
Yeah, no problem. I love you, buddy.
Hey, Jim, I love you too. You've been a friend for way too many years, and I'll tell you, we've had a lot of laughs. I still remember we were up there at Lake of the Woods, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, ice fishing, and you tackled me on the snow. Probably the scariest moment of my life when I saw that Big Jim shadow running towards me, and all of a sudden I got bogged down in the snow, and you tackled me. I thought that the show was over then. I would have been retiring.
I actually was watching him because I bolted at him, and I knew over, like back then, I knew over 15 yards or so, he didn't stand a chance. Like guys that run short distances have big thighs, which I have, as you know, Scotty. And I'm gaining on him, and all of a sudden I just see him start to get away, and he's running along the top of the snow, and I'm not. And I'm still gaining on him, and all of a sudden I saw his foot break through, and it was just and the gap just closed.
Scariest
Absolutely.
moment of my life or my career. Could have been
Well, the
career
first time I
ending.
tried to get him,
I lived to do this interview.
That's hilarious. And with many scary moments that you have had, obviously the moose up at Timmins was one of them. I did hear a rumor about an outboard that let go from the transom years back as well. But I'll tell you, the sacrifices that you've made, I want to take this time not only to thank you, but your family that you have mentioned that have allowed you to do what you've done and have passed on the passion to us. I know I speak for all of our CFN community and anybody that you have spent time in a boat or at an outfitter or on a dock with. It truly is something that we will constantly cherish. As somebody said, our Saturday mornings will never be the same without the Real Fishing Show. So on behalf of all of us here at CFN, and to both you and Jim, thank you so much for what you've done for this industry, for our community, and for furthering our passion.
Well, thank you, Scotty and Jim. It's been so nice talking to you this evening. And in parting, I will say, my brother Wayne and I were partners in the show for so long, and it was always great because Wayne loved to do the business side of things. So he was always, involved in selling the advertising, endorsement deals, and I was always the front guy, always on the road doing the appearances and the filming and that. And sometimes he would join me at some of the functions or the filming trips and that, but it was always a good team. Wayne and I, even though 9 years difference between the two of us, we had a good team together. And then, my immediate family, my wife, my son, my daughter, all very supportive right till this day, which is really neat because, I heard it years ago, if you don't have friends, family, and your health, what do you have? Right. And that's pretty much sums it up tonight, folks, is that's about as good as it gets. And I just had some wonderful chicken just before I came on, good meal. And now that it's getting, into the evening hours, I'm done. I'm not doing any more social media tonight. I wore myself answering all those wonderful messages from people.
Well, listen, thanks so much for taking the time that you did to spend a little bit of time with our community. Again, we can't thank you enough. Jim, thanks so much for setting this up and being the upstanding lad you are. We can't thank you enough. And in leaving, I will leave you with this video again. Thanks to the two of you for all you've done, as I mentioned, with the fishing community. You guys are great friends and great role models.
Hey, I'm not even sat up. You call yourself a professional? I've got to mention the fact that you have won 2 Canadian Bass Classics.
Yes, sir. How many have you won, Bob?
1.
How many Canadian Opens you win?
3.
You win.
How about you?
Yes.
Yeah, but you won those nice big rings when you won your classic.
Yep.
They ran out of rings when I won mine in 95. Hey, it's been a lot of fun, Jim.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you, Jim. You made it through and you didn't shed a tear, buddy. Good for you, bud. Awesome.
I could have got it wet a couple of times. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that went on between us that were just absolute awesome experiences and other things. And Bob's always been there, as I've always been there for him. And it's just it's a really, really cool thing. Really, really cool. We have such it's just ultimate respect for each other.
Awesome, buddy.
And there's a lot of that in this industry. There's a lot of people always chirping and fighting and stuff. Which is everywhere in the world, and it's just not today. It was always like that everywhere. There's people like that, but there's a half a dozen people that I just see eye to eye with. I've saw eye to eye forever. A lot of times I've put myself at a disadvantage to help these people, because it was just the right thing to do at the right time, stuff like that. When I say disadvantage, I don't mean something bad or anything. It's just you help your friends. Like if everybody would just help everybody else, the whole world would be such a good place. People see the likes of Bob, myself, Dave Mercer, where everybody's buddies. They're all pals. Like they do anything for anybody. And people chirp and say, "Oh, well, so and so doesn't like so and so," whatever else. If you're not on the inside, you shouldn't even be allowed to open your mouth about things. You know what I mean? Because when it all comes down to it, 99.9% of the time, everybody just loves everybody for the the vast majority of the time. Yeah, sure, there's been little bickers and things, but man, there's a better way to love life. Just like the thing I posted a few weeks ago on Instagram. All I posted was, "Don't be a shitty person today." And if you live by that rule, you get friendships like Bob and I have,
Amen.
So
Amen,
that's
brother.
what it is. So you remember that, Scotty Martin?
Yes, I will. Absolutely, my friend. You guys have set one hell of an example for the rest of us to follow, and we hope we do you proud when you are no longer on this earth. But till then, dude.
So before I go, see the fish behind me, the Shimano fish there, right?
Yeah.
This guy sends me a note the other night. I think he's about maybe 18 or 19. He sends me a note and he says, "Is that the biggest bass you ever caught?" And I said, "Well, actually, I didn't catch that." And he proceeded to chirp me, "Why would I have a mounted fish that I didn't catch?" And whatever else. And he just got going. In fact, it was when I was on with Andy for the spring fishing show on Sunday. And so I explained to him about it, I said, "Well, that's not actually, I said, that's about the size of the biggest bass I've caught in Canada. But I said, that was a presentation from Shimano for being there 25 years. And he says to me, 25 years? Holy crap. He said, "That's a long time." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, it's 39 now." But he thought it was disgusting that I had a mounted fish. I said, "Well, it's a trophy. I had to get it down, take a picture of the bottom where the plaque is from Shimano that thanks you, so it doesn't look like an award. It looks like a piece of art. It comes from Advanced Taxidermy, Yeah. And I sent it to him, and then he's just a complete different guy, So that's the kind of guy you don't need in the fishing. I don't know.
Amen, brother. Well, listen, we wish there were more Jims. We certainly wish there were more Bobs, but we appreciate your time as always. And again, thanks so much for setting this up. It really meant a lot to our community, Jim.
I knew. Plus, it was good for me too, because I'm part of the community.
Attaboy, buddy. All right, you take care of yourself. Stay classy, my friend.
We're good, guys.
All the best. It's hard to follow, but I'll tell you, these two lads can get it done. But before we do, here's a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Lawrence Gunther.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. That was an amazing conversation to listen to Bob reflect, and oh my goodness, this is like something just happened to the universe. It just tilted a little bit, with him, not doing that show anymore. It's just something just tilted a bit.
100%, dude. And a lot of folks echo the same sentiments. But I will ask you this, because I think everybody has their favorite Bob Izumi story. What's yours?
Well, there's some I can't tell because I don't want him to never talk to me again. But you know what? Like I remember going into Big Jim's store back in the mid '80s on Bank Street there, And I didn't know who Big Jim was. I know I knew his name, but I didn't know who he was. But I said, man, this guy's got his own store. It was my dream to have my own fishing store. And then, and then to get involved with the fishing movement when I launched my blind fishing boat. And they're right. It's a small world. I didn't realize how small of a world it is. But within almost instantly, I got to meet these guys, right? I got to meet them. And, they came around and poked around and figured out who I was. And just kept an eye on me and made sure I was always sort of included, and I had my back. They had my back. They didn't know me. They just, some blind guy. He's built a little boat. He goes fishing in by himself. What a kind of weird. I hope he doesn't kill anybody. But they had my back, right, all the time, and that's never stopped. And I had Bob on Bluefish Radio on the podcast a few years ago, and here he is, taking time out of a super busy schedule to work on making the International Bass Fishing Organization, right? This is international. And this is, so he's personally spent a year of his time setting up this event on the St. Lawrence River, where you have Mohawk fishers, American fishers, people from Mexico fishing, all competing, all have qualified to compete in this international bass fishing competition. I mean, he spent so much time with the Canadian Sport Fishing Industry Association, but this was all, he wasn't paid for this. He was not paid to do any of this. And yet he gives of his time to take it to the next level all the time, and then, just to always, whenever asked or called or whatever, he always had a note, always had a comment, always found time for me to come on the Bluefish Radio show and talk about conservation. And that's something really close to his heart. And I don't think, he talks about it in his show. He always demonstrates great conservation practices in everything he does. You never see him mess up that way. And but he never talks about the fact that he goes on Parliament Hill and meets with members of Parliament, meets with senators to talk about fishing, to talk about how important fishing is to Canadians, and just give his time. And again, just all this work he does behind the scenes to promote and advance the sport of fishing, that makes no difference in how much he's getting paid for anything. It probably means he's getting paid less because he's doing stuff for free that he could be doing stuff to get paid for. But I'm just saying, he just really, really cares about the sport, and he cares about the people in the sport. It's both. He's a wonderful, his whole family.
I honestly don't know what he cares about more. And when it comes to either the fish or the people, because to me, the people seem to reign over anything and everything. But that's the one thing that I have as a takeaway from both Jim and Bob is, neither one of them knew me from Adam. And, the minute I walked into a room, I was addressed and hey, Scott, how you doing?
Yeah.
I almost had to turn around. Like, are you sure you're talking to me? Like, unbelievable. True gentlemen, both of them are. Yeah. Bob, as it is his night, we are commemorating all of his efforts that he has done with the Real Fishing Show. And the list can go on and on. I'm sure we all have our fondest of Bob's stories that we want to remember. Unfortunately, you and I have some unfortunate news to talk about on our news segment. It was posted this week. There was a gentleman up in Kapuskasing. We don't want to.
Two gentlemen. Two
gentlemen. We don't want to mention their names.
Gentlemen in quotes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't do that. We don't like to humiliate folks here at CFN. We just want to educate folks on on how not to act. And of course, when I first read it, I thought, okay, I mean, he's over. He's got 12 walleye over. But then I started to read a little bit more about the story. And let me just give you some of the details. So
one guy was 12. One guy was 12 fish over. The other guy was 10 fish over his limit. So,
and I've heard more. Like, I've heard worse. I've heard far worse, right?
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, did the penalty fit the crime? Because I've heard folks that have caught a lot more and kept a lot more over the limit and weren't penalized near as harsh as these two. But it's going to be your opinion, all of your opinion. I'd almost like to start a poll. Is this harsh or not harsh enough? So here it is, 12 walleye over the limit, 10 for the other gent. The first gent had the 12, was fined $4,200, got a 10-year suspension to fishing, had to hand over his boat.
Lost his boat, lost all his fishing tackle.
Everything. He's got a 2-year probation order not to possess any fishing equipment or to be in the company of anyone that is possessing fishing equipment for the purpose of angling. But then you start to dive into some of the other stuff, and they had open liquor in the boat. They were witnessed throwing empties into the river once they were done. And then this is what got me, is they have a very long history of this kind of behavior.
That's the thing there, Scotty. You got it right there. These guys were notorious, and it's like a thief, right? They don't just do once. They don't just shoplift once. They don't just steal once. It's if you're doing this, you're doing it all the time. And these guys had a long rap sheet, and they need to be taught a lesson. You can give a $300 ticket, a $200 ticket. You can do that. Those are warnings. Those are shots across the bow. But these guys had that opportunity to change their ways, to rehabilitate themselves. But they chose not to. They chose just to thumb their nose to the law and keep doing stupid things.
So my question to you, Lawrence, is how are they not doing jail time?
Or they should be cleaning ditches on the side of the highway, right? They should be picking up garbage. They should be doing shoreline cleanups. They should be some consequence. I remember an old gentleman. He was a farmer. Him and his wife lived in the house across from our property we had in the middle of Ontario nowhere. And I remember him saying, we need to bring back the lash. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, that's the problem. He said before, jails were just meant to keep people until their punishment could be handed out. Jail wasn't a punishment. It was just a holding system until they got punished. Lashes, and I think, wow, but you know what? He's right. That's the way we used to look at the law and jails is you put them somewhere where they couldn't escape. You gave them the punishment and then you let them go. And that's what now we think, well, we take their freedom away, right? We take their freedom away and we keep them in jail. That's the punishment, and hopefully rehabilitate them. I don't know if we spent enough time on that, but yeah, I mean, these guys, they lost their boat. They lost their fishing tackle. The boat was probably a piece of crap, And so what did they lose? Well, they got those big tickets. And that's a monetary thing that their spouses, if they have them, are going to not feel happy about for sure. That's something that could get you on that divorce track. You come home with a $4,000 ticket. Your wife's not going to be too happy about that. So I think
100%.
I think they got their punishment, but I think they deserved it. And I read some of the comments and some of the people, there's hundreds of comments on the Ontario Conservation Officer Association website. And one guy said, well, they set them up. They were watching them drink and drink, and they watched them catch fish. And they should have, as soon as they saw them drinking, they should have went over and gave them a ticket for drinking. So they were set up. But these are conservation officers. They're not OPP, right? They're not there to enforce open liquor regulations. They can, right, but their job is conservation, number one. And that's what they were doing. I'm sure if they started bombing around their boat, banging into things, they would have stopped them, but they were just fishing. So yeah. I think they did a good job.
True enough. I think the disturbing part too is this is all disturbing, and I hate to see our resource and especially walleye. As we said in our group chat, leave the walleye alone. But the fact that they were trying to pawn the extra fish off to a First Nation member. Yeah. They belong to a First Nations person. They can keep as many as they want. They belong to, come on. That's just. That's a line, man. You don't cross that line. Holy they cross the line. The worst thing is, if you talk to people that aren't into fishing or have heard, or maybe are questioning the efficacy of fishing, and then they read about this, then it just gives everybody a bad name. Like, oh yeah, fishing. Because how many times you hear, oh yeah, I know you guys like to ice fish, right? You just go out there and drink, right? Or you don't drink in your boat when you go fishing. I mean, I hear that all the time from people, because they just associate the two. And to be honest, like I belong to a lot of fishing clubs. We go fishing and in tournaments and other events. I've never seen people drinking, or I don't see, so it doesn't help, but I know, right? If people were drinking, people don't drink, and it wouldn't be tolerated. Tolerated. Yeah, we did that when we were young and silly. And as Steve, this is very apropos. I mean, it's right on point. A mistake made more than once is a decision. And
Mhm.
you know, if you've done it once, you get caught, or you know, you're shown the error of your ways. Absolutely, it's a mistake, and hopefully you can learn from it. But if you continue to do it, and there's a history, let's be honest. I would have to agree with
Roll the boat.
James, who probably said he has the sentiments of a lot of people. Do you honestly think that this is going to stop that kind of behavior? They weren't acting very ethical before. Who's to say they're going to act ethical now? In
They
fact,
won't.
I would
They'll
almost agree, James.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
I agree.
probably
They're going to do it some more. They'll do it more. They'll get more fishing rods at some point, and they'll find a way. Because to them, it's the sport isn't fishing. The sport is going out and breaking the law and not getting caught. That's their sport, right? That's what these people get their thrill from, and not from catching the fish. They get their thrill from eluding the law and breaking the rules.
Amen.
That's their sport.
What's upcoming in Bluefish Canada and Bluefish Radio news?
Well, you know, it's all about invasive species for the next few weeks. For the next couple months, we're working with the Invasive Species Center in Sault Ste. Marie, and we're developing some PSAs and some little video. We're really trying to educate anglers about some problem areas. And one we're really dialing down on, well, there's the boat thing, right? The moving the boats around. But the other one, and this is chronic across Canada, is aquarium pets being released into the wild. And I'm in specific goldfish, like across Canada, Scotty, across Canada. Every province in Canada has have goldfish problems in bays, around cities and ponds and streams. You know, anywhere where it's a little stagnant, anywhere where there's not a lot of competition, the goldfish take over. And this is a problem, man. We gotta educate people as anglers. We gotta educate people that that's not cool. That's not cool.
Absolutely. Like, Hamilton Harbor. I mean, can put up your hand if you know an area that has a school of goldfish running around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hamilton Harbor, I know definitely does. Mm-hmm. But you're so right. I think it's just it's. I don't know. It's like a python problem down in Florida. You know, people just couldn't be bothered to feed these things anymore, so they offloaded them, into the backwoods of Florida, and now you're paying people to have to, bounty hunt them and remove them from the wild because they're starting to become a nuisance more so, threat more so than a nuisance, really.
Oh yeah, they're tilting the ecosystem into a wholly different direction. And you think this goes into the water, disappears, something will eat it, it'll die, just disappears. Like we always think about water. It's just the main disappearing act, right? It doesn't disappear. Things happen under there that we need to be aware of,
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Well, listen, Lawrence, as always, dude, thanks so much for joining us and continuing with our news and getting us in the know and how to, basically look for the correct information. I mean, there's, as I said, social media has the ability to sway us in believing things, but I know with your nose to the grindstone, we're always going to get the facts. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no fake news, buddy. No fake news.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you have yourself a great night. Thanks for joining us on what has been an epic night.
Epic.
And we look forward to seeing you next Monday.
Hey, one little story.
Yes, sir.
I asked Bob once. I said, Bob, I said, what do you like better, tournament fishing or doing the TV show? And he said, Lawrence, the only reason I do the TV show is so I can make enough money to go tournament fishing. So this is great for him. Now he can just go tournament fishing as much as he wants, which has always been his dream. Always been his dream.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, you take care, Lawrence. All the best. We'll see you next Monday.
All right, buddy.
Stay safe, dude. Peace. And up next, Jason Barnews and a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Jay Barnews in the house. How you doing, Jay?
Good, Scotty. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Listen, this is a night of all nights. It's an honor to be with you, Lawrence, and Jim every Monday. But to have our buddy Bob Izumi join us was truly epic. And I know you've spent a lot of time with Bob in the Berkeley booth. So tell us some fun moments you have.
So I've been with Berkeley now for, I think it's almost been a decade now, and helping them out. And I was there the day that, the big reveal I always talk about, where Bob started a contract with Pure Fishing Canada, so with Abu and Berkeley. And there was Chris Hockley was the sales director of sales for Canada, and he takes Bob's winter coat off, and underneath is Izumi in the Berkeley red. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool, And hey, man, I'm 47 years old, and I'm still that 12-year-old kid when I'm around Bob that used to wait in line for him at the Toronto Sportsman Show. I'm still that kid, man. Like, I have the pleasure of calling Bob a friend, and I've had Bob call the house many a times, and it's funny, like, he'll call the house. His voice is so recognizable. Like, there's probably not a more recognizable voice out there if you're an angler in Canada. And I remember the one night he called the house, and I pick up the phone, and I sit down on the couch beside Heather, and he goes, "Jason, Bob Izumi here." And Heather can hear the phone, and she's just laughing. She's like, is that freaking Bob Izumi? I'm like, "Yeah, he's calling the house now." Like, just so many funny stories with Bob. One thing that's a funny joke within our family is that Stephanie would never let Bob hug her at a sportsman show or a fishing show ever. Like, she's a pretty shy girl, to be honest, like, especially in crowds. But this is going back when she is 3 and 4 years old. She would not let Bob give her a hug. Like, we used to do the annual photo with Bob, and I have photos with my kids. Like, and it's too bad I don't have any from the past 2 years, because Trevor's grown like a foot in a year.
Yeah.
Like, I've missed that whole time. And but yeah, she would never let Bob give her a hug, and Bob would like chase her down the aisle, and she would just in her little pigtails, and she would just gone. Like, she's like, "No way, Bob's hugging me." So we just have this great relationship with the Izumis, and Darren's great too, and Sandy, like, just great, man. And so when they're at the trade shows, like, I'm not joking. Like, one of my jobs, the Berkeley sales guys were like, "Jay, we need you to get Bob to the stage by 1:15. He's going to be on stage for 30 minutes. He's got to be back here by 2:00 for autographs." So I'm like part of his detail. I got to get Bob back to the booth on time. And it's hard, because it's legitimately one of the hardest jobs I've ever had to do, because I just can't pick him up and like, come here, Bob,
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to talk to him, and he wants to talk to everybody. And hearing Bob say that someone called him out about an autograph, that kind of like, whew, I'll admit this whole event tonight, Scotty's been great. For a microsecond, I was like, what the hell? Like, if that dad or uncle or whoever it was, if they would have written Bob and say, "Hey, we went to the show last month, wanted an autograph, didn't get one, been a big fan," they would have sent you one, man. Like,
well, I read a story today, Jay, about a gentleman who won a prize that was featured either at the Sportsman Show or the Spring Fishing and Boat Show, and unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the trip, which was a day out with Bob Izumi. Well, what did he do in return? He sent him a truckload of stuff as a runner-up prize. Like, I mean,
100%.
Again, we don't have. There's not enough time to talk about all the instances where Jim and Bob have gone to bat for folks in a big way.
Yeah.
And as I said, it will only continue to be that way. Now that he has a little bit more free time, who knows what Bob's going to be up to? But
he's busy, man. He'll never stop. Like, he's been on the go for years. Like, Jim talked about it. We talked about it backstage a bit with Bob. Like, he's got a lot of irons and different fires all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially him and Wayne, like, their whole company. They're they do a great job for the fishing industry. Their connections with the World Fishing Network and getting that off the ground, which a lot of people don't realize that Bob and Wayne were very much a part of that when it started. They're always just working on stuff, but they're still just anglers at heart. Like, one of my favorite Bob memories, and I would have been 22 or 23 years old. I was at university in Peterborough, and one of my roommates, I had a pretty wild bunch of roommates for a couple of years, and those are stories to be told at a different time. But one of my roommates, Eric, He played for the Fleming Knights volleyball team, and he had just went through his initiation. Okay, and Eric had a massive coif of hair. Like he had, like you've seen my COVID hair. I've seen your COVID hair. Okay, so Eric had this big coif like I get, and they dyed it green, like neon green, like chartreuse green. Dyed it. Okay, but Eric, and he had a big goatee, great big goatee, neon green hair.
And he played volleyball.
Yeah, he was on the Fleming volleyball team. I didn't play volleyball, but he did. I was on the rugby team. But anyway, so and I was at Trent. And anyway, so we woke up one morning and Eric's like, "Hey, isn't the Sportsman show on this weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we're at Peterborough. And he goes, "I want to go down to the motocross show." And I forget, I think he had to get a helmet or something. And he's like, "Let's go to the Sportsman show, road trip." So, we're just a couple 22-year-old guys. Wake up, pop a couple Advil and a Gatorade, and off we go. Okay, Saturday, we're heading to Toronto on our whim. And we get down there, we go to the motocross thing at the International Center first, and we hopped over to exhibition for the Toronto Sportsman Show. And I wanted to get a new pair of waders. I wanted to get a new pair of neoprene waders. I remember this. Walking around, I find the waders I wanted at the LeBaron booth. We're walking by, must have been the Shimano booth at the time, and Eric's coif. I get the picture, and I'm 6'3", Eric's 6'2". Okay, we're walking through the aisles. He's got this big coif of hair, like literally like a triangle, like a wedge. Wayne comes over. "Hey, you guys, come here. Bob, come here. This is the guy. And they wanted to cut samples of Eric's hair and try and tie musky bucktails with it. They're like, "This is the best hair I've ever seen."
Come on.
Yeah. And at the time, Eric's brother, who at the time was like 10 years old or 8 years old, and if you're anything like me, when I had roommates, I wasn't just there. I became family of their family. We lived together for years. Bob signed a poster for Eric's brother, and Eric's brother still has that poster. And Eric's brother is married now. He's got kids. He has his own job, and we still talk through like social media. And he remembers me bringing that poster to him. So this would have been back in 1997, 1996. Yeah, isn't that something?
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I just have so many good little stories. The other story I have with Bob actually involves Darren. Darren, if anyone gets to meet Darren is a total comedian. Like, so as a favor one night, I called Bob and I said, "Hey, I want to have you guys to a club meeting." And I'm not going to go into who it was or where it was, because it was all on the down low. I didn't even tell my buddies I was doing this. Okay. But Bob's like, "I don't want to do a seminar like that." I said, No seminar. You and Darren, I want you and Darren. Because those two are a comedy act, because Darren just cuts up his dad constantly, like sarcasm, like just thick. So they came to a club meeting that I was hosting. I bought them dinner out of my own pocket, had a couple beers. We put them at the front of the room and just said, "Let's just talk fishing." And Darren, it was like a comedy act, like an Abbott and Costello. So we talked fishing, but we didn't actually talk about what line you use, what rod. It was just about stories, about tournaments and filming trips they've been on and stuff. And just listening to the two of them just spin off each other, it was just great. Like, they're just a couple of dudes like we are, Scotty, talking right now. And that's what makes Bob and Darren and all the Izumis so appealing. Wayne's the same way. They're all so appealing and approachable. Just great members of our community. So thankful for them. So happy for them.
100%. And you can see his new passion, which is his grandson.
Yeah.
And he's pretty excited to be spending some time with him. And, knock on wood, I haven't had that yet. I can only imagine what it's like to have grandchildren. But to Bob and his, as I said, I wish I could have said it over and over and over again. I can't thank his family enough, because he literally has given up so much of his time for our community, for our industry, for anyone who has picked up a rod and has tried to emulate being Bob Izumi. I don't think any of us probably, I know in our chat, some folks used to refer to, maybe you as the Izumi of this and me, the Izumi of walleye, but I think at some point, some way, somehow, we've all been Bob Izumi at one point.
Oh, I have to tell one more story. I don't even.
got it.
Many people don't even know this story. This is kind of an intense story, man. It's really funny, but people may not realize this. And I have video of this somewhere. I'll dig it up someday. So at the 2020 spring fishing show, the last spring fishing show we had in person, Scotty. Okay, on the Saturday, Dave Mercer was there, did autographs in the booth. Okay, at the Berkeley booth. On the Sunday was Bob's turn. Okay. So you know what a comedian Dave is. Yep. You like there's no bigger comedian in the fishing industry than Dave, except for maybe Gerald Swindle. Mercer's top 2 or 3 for sure.
Yep.
You know the Billy Big Mouse Big Bass costume?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I do.
He came to the Berkeley while Bob was doing autographs and was heckling Bob without saying anything. He was in the bass costume, but like heckling people in line, like just, and I guess technically they are competitors because they both work for Berkeley and stuff. But Dave was just on a roll that day, and Bob went along with it. And I was there just taking pictures. My job that day was a hard job. I was asked, can you get some pictures of me for my Instagram and stuff? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because Darren was working at a booth or for Natural Sports. And watching Dave standing behind Bob, like smacking him with the fins and stuff. And oh my God, it was just over the top exciting. And I don't think there's probably only a handful of us that actually know that happened.
I did hear that story. There's a lot of stuff that obviously we can't mention on the show that was said. That was very awkward. But at the end of the day, when Dave revealed himself, it was quite comical.
Well, and Dave's a big guy. I remember we had to peel him out of that suit, and it wasn't pretty. I'm going to say that. I personally wore that suit, and I vow never to wear it again. Like it gets hot in there when you're a big guy.
Amen.
So,
amen.
Yeah.
Going forward, I know we talked about it in our group chat, and I just want to, for anybody who is listening, there has been basically a request from the community that we start basically infusing some more how-to stuff, and I know that you're totally up for that. I don't know if we're going to do it species specific, but if you guys and gals have any idea or ideas on and advice that how you want to see it, by all means, put it in the comments. Let us know, because we do want to make sure that we are catering to what brings you guys here every Monday. But I did hear that there is a lot of how-to. What's upcoming for you, Jay, in the near future?
Well, I got to show you a picture. I hope this comes out. So today was Family Day, Scotty, and Brad and Julie Thompson treated us today.
Nice.
We had some double cheeseburgers, buddy, on the ice over charcoal, not even propane, charcoal.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah, and there's here. I'm going to show you another couple pictures. We had a great day. So this weekend, Scotty, was not a great weekend. It was nice to lay low. I won't lie to you. I laid low this weekend. So there's Trevor, cheeseburger in one hand and a crappie in the other. The weather was terrible this weekend, right? So I said to Trevor, like down here, we had gusts up to 80 kilometers an hour on Saturday, and Sunday wasn't much better, to be honest. So, I know a lot of people, Alicia Raytrowski, TJ and Alicia, we communicate regularly. They're good friends of ours. She's like, what do you think about the weather? And I'm like, you know what? I said, if I'm actually going looking for a compass, because I think I might get lost, maybe I shouldn't be going out there.
It's
just
true.
Kind of, and I was worried. You know what the biggest thing was? I was worried if the wind is that bad and I bust a pole in my hub or I break something and I can't get a spare part, my season is going to come to a quick end. Not end, but not happy, right? And I said, you know what? And I'm looking at the long-range forecast, Scotty. Even down here, we got at least 2 more weeks, maybe 3 more weeks, maybe more. At least 2 weeks more of ice. So I said, I'm not in a big hurry. So we kind of laid low. Good family time with friends. I watched NASCAR yesterday for the first time in 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I watched NASCAR race yesterday with friends. It was pretty fun. But we did go ice fishing today, and I have a confession to make. I'm a little scared, man. I'm a little scared because Trevor's nipping at my heels. He entered a fish today that's right just a hair smaller than my big crappie.
No way.
Yeah. So
well, that was
I think
Bill's question. How you make it out with the fish off?
well, here I am thinking someone else is going to beat me out. And today he was slamming the crappies, and he got one just shy of 13 inches. So I'm going to use metrics. It's funny, at work I use metric all the time. Like my personal life, I use inches, but at work I use metric. So metric, my crappie on the board is 33 centimeters for the fish off, and Trevor punched a 30 centimeter crappie today. Now I know he's not in the adult division, but it doesn't matter. He's going after Dad. He wants to beat Dad in the fish off. So he's all and Stephanie entered a fish today as well. She entered a crappie today. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So she's happy with that. So yeah, we had a good day of fishing, and we just got to keep pounding. We got lots more fishing to do. So I'm going to tell everyone a tip. This is the toughest time of year to fish right now, like for ice fishing. We're in the middle of winter. The ice is at its thickest. The snow is at its densest on top. There's a lot of things happening right now. Like we've had rain and the weather's been crazy. You really got to pick your times. And I'm not joking when I tell you, and I've said this before, we really look at that. Look at those incoming weather patterns. Look at those storms coming in. Walleye and crappie really love those low pressure systems. They really do. So this week we got some snow coming in midweek. I'll be out. I'm going to be out. I'm not going to fish every night. I wish I could, but I'm going to go out a couple times. I'm going to make sure that I target those times. And I saw some other questions too in the chat about, people just aren't getting bit by fish.
Yeah.
It's a great time. This is such an important time to downsize. One thing that for panfish, especially if it's really clear water, go with those gold jigs, gold or silver.
Yeah.
Like that's my favorite stuff. And if it's clear water, gold or silver. And then if it's dimmer light conditions, something with a glow or a UV. But glow has been that Wonder Bread glow is my favorite, man. That's been my great killer this year for sure.
Yeah, and Shane Richard's biggest toughest thing is he's been asking several times, what do I do? I'm marking fish, but I just can't get them to commit. And I saw him ask the question during the Bob Izumi segment, and unfortunately, it just wasn't the segment to ask. But going forward, Shane, listen, that's exactly what we're going to be catering to, is more how-to, so that we can get you guys on fish and get more topside. But I'll tell you, with this weather that's upcoming, we've got a whole bunch of rain coming. I've seen the Credit River and the damage it can do with the ice flows just outside of Brampton here. Not to mention we've got a snowstorm that possibly is coming at the end of the. It's been a horrific season of weather, and anybody who's still able to get out on the hard water. I know our folks out in Saskatchewan can't even get out on the hard water because there's so much snow. I know up north they're expecting more snow as well. So yeah, it's been a grind. I would have to say this hard water season has been a grind for all anglers.
One thing I'm going to recommend to some people is with this high water that we've had in the creeks, it's really impacting water clarity under the ice. Okay, so if you're fishing any lakes that have incoming streams, try to get away from some of those streams. That sudden influx of dirty water. My experience is fish don't like that. It messes them up. Like usually down here when the Long Point Bay first freezes over, Rondo and Mitchell's Bay are the same. They're dirty or murky. They're not dirty. They're murky to start, and then they clear up because there's no more wind action. But some of the incoming rivers and the streams will flush dirty water in these places. Try and find the cleanest water that you can. Heck, Scotty, I'm like that in the summertime when I'm bass fishing. I got to find that cleanest water that I can that's in the area, right? So definitely think about that. If you go out and pop some holes and the water's a lot more dirty than last time you were there, think about moving further away. Either doesn't matter, doesn't be further out, could be just further east or west or north, whatever direction you got to go. Get away from that dirty water. Try and find some of the cleanest water that you can. And that might be in shallower. Because you might, if the flow, like so Scotty, like if the river's coming in here, you might want to fish, to the east or to the west of that inflow as it kicks the mud out. You want to get, and that might be shallower. It could be fine too. And shallower might even be okay because you're going to get a lot of water going down the holes that we've all been drilling. We've seen on Lake Simcoe, some of the images were incredible on Lake Simcoe last week. But that influx of fresh,
that ice movement. Oh my!
Oh, so that's actually that picture from Tom Barry. You guys may not know Tom, but that the one picture that was shared where the guy's on the ice and it's got the waves. That was actually a buddy of mine that I know. And I texted him and I'm like, dude, you're crazy, man. You're crazy.
Well, I don't know why he was. The only question I had is why was he still jigging?
Yeah, I know.
For you.
Yeah, it's like you're out in the boat. You know, you don't have to move your rod because the boat's going up and down. Yeah, so we've just had some crazy weather, but yeah, definitely try and find that cleaner water. Try and use the weather to your advantage. Like, look at the barometric pressure rising and falling. I've said this before. If you want to use, you know what? I'll share this because I think people are going to want to see this, Scotty, because I'm just going to take a second here. So there's an app. It's not even an app, sorry. It's a lot of folks use the app Weather Underground. Okay, so Weather Underground has a great app. I find it's one of the apps that I use regularly. In this one's set to Norfolk County, which is local to here. Go in the 10-day calendar. Okay, go to the 10-day calendar in that app, and you will see what the next 10 days, what the barometric pressure tendencies are going to be. And you'll see when it drops, you're going to get rain or snow. So you can look at it, and you want to be when it's on a drop, not when it's flatlined at the bottom, and not when it's okay to fish in high pressure if it's been high pressure for a couple of days. So you don't want to fish it when it's rising, but you definitely want to fish it when it's falling. But try to remember what the barometric pressure was doing when you were out the last time. Even if you didn't do well, even if the fishing was terrible, what was the weather? So don't do that. What does Jim always say? What is that about? We shouldn't do it twice. What's the definition of insanity?
Don't keep doing it if it's not working.
That's right. So sometimes, and even in my line of work, I always joke zeros are important. Like, don't think every day you go out it's going to be a bumper day. Like, you expect to have some bad days and learn from those opportunities. And downsizing your jigs. I see Bill chime in there. Go with tiny jigs. Like, I'm using like some of the 2 millimeter jigs, like tiny tungsten jigs. The biggest thing about those, and I use big in a joke, you got to use lighter line. You got to use like 3 pound, 4 pound tests. Don't go any bigger with those tiny tungsten jigs because they're so light. Even at tungsten, they can't stretch your line out very well. And so you'll miss bites because those fish are grabbing it and you got coils in your line. You need your line to be tight to detect those bites. So downsize, but lighter line is not just about invisibility in the water. It's so important for detecting bites because the lighter line is stretched out and you can actually react to your rod tip. You walk up to somebody who's using too heavy of a line, ice fishing, and the line is kind of kinked. Now, you can catch fish doing that because you can watch how the kinks change as a fish hits. But I like to have my line straight and my rod tip, really soft rod tip loaded up or a spring bobber, and I watch how that rod tip reacts. So this time of year that's so important, is being able to downsize. Huge.
Great advice as always, Jay. And as I said, folks, we are going to be bringing more how-to stuff just like this in our future episodes upcoming. If there's anything else that you guys would like to see, don't hesitate to put it in the comments. Jay, thanks so much for joining us on what was and is an epic night. It truly was amazing and an honor to have the one and only.
Great time as always, Scotty. Thanks everybody, and looking forward to Tourney Tuesday. I got to see where I sit, but like I said, a 13-inch crappie is not a big one. I'm on a quest. I see a couple comments here. Cliff, I punched a 35 crappie today. I'm like, all right. Well, if that's legit, that's awesome. And Barry, we're looking at 42 centimeters. I hope he's talking snow, not crappie. That's a 42 centimeter crappie, Barry. You tell me. I'm going to start following you and Sally around. If you're looking at a 42 centimeter crappie, you and I need to talk. Okay? Anyway, brother. Scotty, thanks again, guys. We'll see you guys next week. All right.
Take care. And as Jay just mentioned, of course, Tourney Tuesdays tomorrow. Mike and I will be joining Sean from the MyCatch app, who will be explaining all about it and many other things upcoming. It's gone very, very well. Everyone has given some great feedback. But again, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Love you all. Love all your comments, your positivity, especially with everything that's going on in the world. It's great to come to a community that truly feels the positivity and feels the need to be positive. Thanks again for Jim for setting up what has been an epic night with Bob Izumi and his retirement announcement. I feel it's a little part has left us, but it isn't Bob. It's just the show. Till next time, guys, you stay classy, stay safe. And if we don't see you this Saturday out on Moore Lake, we'll see you Monday. Take care. See you tomorrow. Peace, guys. All the best.